It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
Coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're listening, whenever you're watching. I hope you're doing all right. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant, located on beautiful St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out his website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's to get an authentic Italian meal. And today's show is also being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage, The Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold, and you can get a copy of it right now while you're watching or listening to the show. Just go to BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. If you're looking to get a signed copy, just go to our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the book. You can't miss it. Or come on up to me if you see me at a live boxing event. I always got them with me. So, hey, if you're going to order it online, make sure, if you want it signed, make sure through our website you write how you want me to sign it for you. And I also want to give a special shout out today to Southern Gourmet Spice. It's my favorite, Kenny Bear's Rub. I put it on everything, from Sal's Pizza to my burgers and my chicken and my pork, everything. I put it on there. So get yourself a bottle. Visit southerngourmetspice.com and tell them Billy C sent you. I want to give a shout out to all of our Facebook Live viewers. We do simulcast on Facebook Live, but they've made an improvement to Facebook Live, and it kind of sucks. So if you're really getting annoyed by the choppiness of that feed, just don't forget we have the full-blown feed, the same feed that goes to the TV networks over on our YouTube page. So just go to youtube.com/talkin, TALKIN, boxing, BOXING. A couple of things I want to talk about today. First and foremost, Shannon Briggs. You know, Shannon Briggs was a fighter that I was a huge fan of Shannon Briggs, 15 years ago. And, he made the comeback. He chased Klitschko all around Germany and wherever Klitschko went, trying to get him to fight, and they never did. And Briggs finally, after beating up a bunch of slugs, they've handed him, he was about to get a title shot. And then, surprisingly enough, he tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs, which I don't think came to a shock to anybody because, all you had to do was listen to some of his comments or even look at his physique, and I think you would bet a couple of pennies on the fact that he was doing something, Well, he's back in the news. Apparently, he must have served his sentence for testing positive. And he's calling out none other than Tyson Fury. My question today is Shannon Briggs against Tyson Fury. Is it a real fight? Or is it just a WWE circus match? I mean, come on. No disrespect to Tyson Fury. He kind of went off the deep end, too. He doesn't seem to be wrapped too tight. He does seem to be a few fries short of a Happy Meal. He doesn't seem to be the sharpest tool in the shed. And Shannon Briggs, he's about the same. Maybe even a less fry in the Happy Meal for Shannon. Would this be a real fight? Does anybody want to see this fight? Is it a WWE match? What the hell you think? Joining me right now from an undisclosed location is my man, Sal Rocky Senecola. What's your thoughts, Sal?
Good morning, Bill. I'll tell you, Bill. I'm not a fan of Tyson Fury. I'm not a fan of any Fury. But Shannon Briggs, this is I think we are getting WWE. Let's see what happens. That's entertainment. That's what Jake LaMotta used to say. That's entertainment. That's it's going to be what it's going to be. We'll see. Well, I don't like it. I don't know.
No, I definitely don't. I don't know either. I mean, something.
Maybe it's the battle of the bad, the best of the bad. Well, maybe this could be for bragging rights to the best of the tarnished careers. I don't know.
Well, let me read you a quote from Shannon Briggs, because he sent this official challenge to Tyson Fury, and this is coming after Frank Warren wrote basically was put a column out that said that he feels that Tyson Fury is being treated unfairly by the powers that be over in the UK, and he accused the powers that be in the UK of leaving Tyson Fury's career in limbo. So Shannon Briggs comes back and issues this statement / challenge. And one of the things that caught my attention was his quote, and this is Shannon Briggs. He said, I quote, you think the McGregor and Mayweather hype was over the top? Imagine me, Shannon Briggs, and my gypsy brother, Tyson Fury, going jaw to jaw. The only thing better than the pre-fight circus would be the one in the ring when we engage in war. Two former world heavyweight champions who remain armed and dangerous. I wonder if he's referring to going jaw to jaw specifically as the pre-fight hype, because we all know that both Tyson Fury and Shannon Briggs can bring it on when it comes to talking smack. But the fight itself, I'm not so sure it wouldn't be anticlimactic. I will say this. Shannon Briggs, who's in his 40s, mid-40s, late 40s maybe now, his career has long been over. He hasn't demonstrated that he deserves a title shot, even though he was in line for one until he tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs. He has beaten up slugs, literally guys that shouldn't even be fighting professionally, and he immediately gets the shot because of his mouth and the hype and just his character. But if the two guys actually fought, I guess it wouldn't be that bad for Tyson Fury, because we can't expect Tyson Fury to hop in the ring with Anthony Joshua, Sal. I mean, this could be a good preliminary fight to see where Tyson Fury stands. But do you think they would try to oversell it? Do you think that they would try to demand too much money, not only in purses, but from the public? Do you think they would make it a pay-per-view? I mean, what's your thoughts on this event? Because that's what it seems to be.
You hit it on the head. I don't think this should be a pay-per-view. I don't think this should be a standalone kind of main event. I think this could be kind of like not even a co-feature, but like on a preliminary card, just to see what these two old timers could bring to the table. And Shannon being the old timer, and maybe they meant by jaw to jaw. Maybe they meant each could take a good shot. I don't know. Maybe they can't. I don't know. But maybe jaw to jaw was not only verbiage, but it was how much could they each take as far as punishment. But you know what? I give it the entertainment value. I don't even think there's going to be a shock value, because when there's going to be entertainment, you're going to be open to receiving anything you may see with the naked eye. So I don't know. It would be a good little preliminary fight to a bigger show.
But the thing here is that both of these guys have a bit of an ego.
Yes.
And I would think that, I don't think it's going to be a I think that they would bill this as a fight itself. And, if you took out,
I'm not paying.
If you took out all of the hype, and if you took out all of the, which would guarantee, you could guarantee would be a lot of BS in terms of the pre-fight hype. If you took all of that out, and if they just treated it as a fight, I actually think the fight would be a decent matchup because Tyson Fury's been out of the ring so long, and Shannon Briggs, who's demanding world title shots, really hasn't fought anyone of note. So I think a win over Shannon Briggs for Tyson Fury would be good in terms of, getting him back in the mix. And then if Shannon Briggs could beat Tyson Fury, I think the same. I think that it would be good for him to say, see, I can beat, a top-rated fighter, even though Tyson Fury hasn't been in the ring for a while. In other words, where the two fighters stand right now, it may be a pretty much even fight. I just have a feeling they would overhype it and try to oversell it.
Yes, they always do. I mean, well, hey, this is like breaking the sound barrier. That's what McGregor and Mayweather did. They broke a barrier. They broke through a ceiling. And now you're going to see, hey, I'm challenging Mickey Rourke to a fight. Hey, I don't want $100 million. Well, I'd love $100 million, but believe me, you're going to see some of these crossover fights and some of these maybe normally unprocessed or unmade fights probably starting to happen. Who knows? And they're going to want big purses. They're going to want to be standalone or something else, and it's going to be an event, more of a shock appeal or event than an actual boxing match. So it has some value. It has some merit. And as you said, if each fighter is serious about getting back into the top rankings and earning a title shot or so, yeah, it could be a great stepping stone for each of these fighters to fight, each other.
Right. I mean,
one wins, one loses. One goes off in the sunset. The other guy has another chance to live another day.
Well, the problem is neither one of them are accepting going off into the sunset. We thought that maybe Tyson Fury was, but that hasn't come to fruition. He hasn't, gone away peacefully. He keeps saying he wants to fight Anthony Joshua. He wants the best. He wants this. He wants that. Which I don't. I don't really buy.
This was after the meltdown.
This is after Tyson Fury's meltdown.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I remember after his meltdown.
Yeah.
And he became a mental midget, and now he's going to rebuild and try to regroup and get his head on straight, and maybe this is the new rebranded Tyson Fury.
Well, I don't know what to think, except if I look at it from the perspective of a real fight, where these two guys are right now. Where these two guys right now. Number one, Tyson Fury, undisputed former world heavyweight champion, who beat Vladimir Klitschko, who was being regarded as the best heavyweight in the world, has a meltdown, ends up basically giving up and or being stripped of his titles, and then goes off and comes back and goes off and comes back, but has not been in the ring yet. And Shannon Briggs, who clearly has lost his mind over the last several years, mouths his way into a world title shot, and then tests positive for steroids, which came to a shock to nobody. And here they are. Neither one of them have been in the ring for quite some time, ready to fight. I mean, the fight itself, if we just took a look at the fight, I wouldn't mind seeing it, to be honest with you. I wouldn't mind seeing the fight. I think it could, really put in perspective where they both are in terms of competitive, where they are competitively, to fight some of the other guys that have been active. But as an event and the way that they would try to bill it and steal the money from the boxing fans, I think that would be over the top, and I don't know. I don't know what to think. As a fight by itself, I like it, but as like even his own words, Shannon Briggs says, comparing it to McGregor Mayweather, the hype, he thinks that the hype for Briggs Fury would be worse than that, which I can't see. That maybe this goes to show that he does need some mental assistance.
Well, here it's been, let's see, about 10 minutes now since we've been on and talking about it, maybe half hour, and it's marinating. I'm sensing it, and yeah, I can almost see this fight happening, and it might be an interesting fight. So maybe we'll promote it and see how it goes and how it materializes. I don't know. We'll see what happens. When do they slate? When would this fight take place? Have they decided or said anything other than, "Hey, I want to fight you"?
Exactly. There's nothing in place. There's not, and we're not promoting anything. I mean, no. I don't. We got to promote
you and I. That's about it.
Even that's hard. But I mean, we're not. I'm just hypothetically discussing the fact that if it came out, I think it would be if the fight came to tuition, I think it would be nothing less than a circus, and I'm just not so sure. Like I said, I give the fight itself credit. I kind of like the matchup. As crazy
two big
as that
guys.
sounds.
It's gonna be it'd be good. I think it'd be a decent fight. I'd like to see it.
I not only do I think it might be a decent fight, I think it would give us, like I said earlier, I think it would give us a clear indication of where one or the other or both of them are from a competitive nature. I mean, exactly. It's easy to call out everybody. I mean, everybody called out Floyd Mayweather because they wanted the payday. And, today everybody in the heavyweight division wants to fight AJ, Joseph Parker, after a pitiful performance against Huey Fury, speaking of the Fury clan, he's saying he has the tools and the secret weapon, and he's found the chink in the armor of AJ that he could exploit and win. And you're sitting there saying to yourself, is the same guy that just fought Huey Fury and struggled? I mean, So I don't know. It all seems like propaganda. It sounds like that little rocket man over there in North Korea.
Little rocket man. Man, that's funny, Billy. That's funny.
Well, I'm quoting our commander in chief.
Rocket man.
He called that nutcase over in North Korea the little rocket man. Now we're supposed to apologize to him for calling him a name, which I got into an argument yesterday about somebody, and listen, let's make no mistake. They're both a little nuts, but I found it amusing that the leader of North Korea, Jing Jang Chong Chong Chung Chang Ching, says, we're going to wipe out the U.S., we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and Trump refers to him as the little rocket man, and now everybody's in arms. Everybody in the UN wants us to apologize, wants us to this, wants us to that. And they've taken it. The North Koreans have taken that as a declaration of war. I mean, and all of a sudden we're the bad guy. Trump is the bad guy, and I'm saying to myself, that's ridiculous, and I got into an argument with somebody about it. Well, we're not supposed to do it. We're supposed to be the leaders of the free world. I'm like, you know what? It's about time we start just looking out for ourselves, because ultimately the world is waiting for this guy to strike the United States and kill U.S. citizens before we're allowed to do anything about it. And to me, that boggles my mind. I know we're totally off topic, but it's relative.
It's true, though, Bill.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's crazy, right?
It's crazy. And you know what? It's so funny, though. They first put down President Trump for using the term rocket man. Now every newscaster, everyone, it's the new tag word. Like remember another election, I think it was during the Gore-Bush See, the term gravitas came out. Then everybody used gravitas, like, hey, a newfound word. Let's look it up. Yeah, someone with weight, stature, and power. Gravitas. Hey, so now we have Rocket Man. And great tagline, great tag name. No apology necessary.
Is gravitas? Isn't that celebration in New Orleans?
Yes, gravitas Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras. Okay.
Or Mardi Gras gravitas.
I didn't know what it was. But hey, listen, hold that thought. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, I got something else that's bothering me, but and it's not an ingrown toenail, but
bothering you is going to bother me.
Yeah, that bothers us all. But we'll be back. I don't know what's been put in the coffee today, but we'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and 3-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now because we are about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. Call 800-493-9652 now, and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Melberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you the #1 mistakes retirees are making with their investments today, and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement. Call 800-493-9652 to have your free information kit rushed to your door. Again, that's 800-493-9652.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And speaking of being with us, joining me right now is my man Sal Rocky Senecola. And we were talking before we went to break on the possibility of a fight between former world heavyweight champions Tyson Fury and Shannon Briggs. And, Briggs is calling out Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury hasn't been in the ring a long time, Sal, but the age difference, my man Coach, who's always got my back, reminded me, Tyson Fury hasn't hit 30 yet. He's 29. Briggs is 46. So that's, Tyson Fury, assuming he could mentally and physically get back in shape, I mean, he's still got time.
Oh, he does. Tyson Fury, he's still under 30 years of age?
Yeah, I was a little surprised.
I'm a little shocked at that. I'll tell you. Nothing like, wow. So he does have a few years ahead of him yet. So, I think he definitely could make a statement. He could stay retired for another year.
The only thing he would have to do is lose a few pounds. The guy is, I'm talking fat. He's pretty fat. I mean, how fat is he? He took a jump into the ocean and left the ring around the continent. I'm talking fat. I mean, geez, he put. I'll tell you another thing. He put a watch. Hey, Sal, he's so fat that he put a watch on both arms and he covered 2 time zones, man. I mean, this guy is fat, so I don't know. He's got to lose a few pounds, I would think. I mean, he did, just for shits and giggles, he stepped on the scale the other day and it said, one of you guys got to get off. Come on, man. Come on. But I don't know.
Who's writing material? I like it.
I don't know. But anyway, it is a fight that I would be interested in seeing. But in any event, another thing happened. Another thing happened to me on my way to work today. No, but another thing happened that was kind of. I don't know. It's got me thinking. And, that's a dangerous thing. When I start thinking, I'm trying to think, but nothing happens,
Mind is a terrible thing.
Yeah, it's a terrible thing and a waste on me. It's like when I was trying to think and nothing happens, like the old thing. Oh, geez, I'm trying to think, but nothing's happening here. I'm going blank.
Curly. You sound like Curly.
Yeah, I know. That's his line. But anyway, from Denmark, a Danish fighter in the cruiserweight division, Mickey Nelson. He's got a record of 23-1 with 14 knockouts. He is ranked in the top 20 by all of the major sanctioning bodies. It was announced yesterday that announced early this morning, depending upon the time zone, by the South African Anti-Doping Agency, or I should say, let me rephrase it, by the South African Boxing Commission, based on the results of a test performed by the South African Anti-Doping Agency. Mickey Nelson had tested positive for anabolic steroids and testosterone in his system when he fought Johnny Mueller back in June of 2016. Geez, Law and Order, they get these test results back pretty quick. I mean, over in the land down under, it takes a year. CSI gets results back in about an hour and a half. I mean, this took a year and a half. But the bottom line is that they posed a 4-year ban on Mickey Nelson, that he's not allowed to fight in South Africa for 4 years. However, the asterisk next to that is that he is allowed to fight someplace else if a commission will just do it. My question to you, and I've always been against, when we're talking in the United States, I've always been against a government-controlled boxing commission. And the reason why is I feel that the same reasons I don't think it will work are the same reasons people want it in place. A lot of people feel that a government-run boxing commission, and I'm talking about the United States, would help curb corruption and et cetera, et cetera. And I feel the opposite. I think that the corruption would just add another layer of corruption. I mean, our government, and I'm proud to be an American, but our government, I can't even run the post office effectively. We everything is so politically, everybody's so afraid of political correctness. I just have my doubts. I do feel that maybe an agency to oversee an agency might be the answer, like if we gave the ABC some power, or if all the commissions report. I mean, something, just that the commissions would have to answer to a higher power. But with that said, Sal, I started thinking when I was when I was writing the show this morning, and this was one of the topics. Maybe it's time. Maybe I'm 100% wrong. Maybe it's time now to have a global commission for boxing. You know, we talked in the last several weeks about how boxing is global, and it always has been, but more so today because of the fact that we're all able to watch a fight that's taken place in another country, something because of technology, something that we weren't able to do relatively a short time ago. Is the advances in technology and the fact that, you know, we can watch a fight from Japan or from the land down under in our living rooms now versus we couldn't really do that several years back, do you think it's time to have a global commission, excuse me, because if a fighter is cheating someplace, the only way to get fighters to stop cheating is to threaten their careers with a global ban or suspension, or however you want to look at it. If a fighter can be suspended in one country and go fight freely in others, we're not really getting the point across, I think. What's your thoughts, man?
I think you just gave somebody an idea to start a new sanctioning body called the Global Boxing Association.
Oh, no, that's not what I meant. No. I don't think no.
This is what you just let out of bag.
Not another belt. Not another belt. Oh, no.
Global Boxing Association or council. Watch it. No, in all seriousness, you know, that would be unique. That would be great. And, some of these rules from country to country there should be some reciprocity where they respect the wishes, because I mean nothing's going to stop Mickey Nelson from coming to the United States and trying to pass our boxing rules and regulations and tests, and he can get a license here, I'm sure. Maybe, I'm not sure, I don't know, but he most likely can in some other country and fight there if he wanted to until his ban is lifted in South Africa. So maybe having a global, which we all have. I mean, we have our domestic, which is our country of origin, ID for boxing as a professional, and we also, I have a global ID for boxing internationally. So, you know, those things should be respected, and if one country or we see this way, I think it should be respected and appreciated and also reciprocated by other countries if it's a legit something that's on the surface, like doping in the ring or something like that. Yeah.
Well, you know, some of the larger commissions do. Okay, let me just educate the fans if you don't know real quick. We all like to refer to BoxRec for quick answers for records and wins, losses, etc., etc. But the official record keeping of professional boxing in the United States is a company called FightFacts. And not that I agree with FightFacts, because it's kind of a scam. As a promoter, we got to buy the FightFacts, and then the commissions use the FightFacts data as gospel. With that said, FightFacts records and maintains records on suspension. So if a commission puts a fighter up on suspension for whatever reason, whether it's a ban on performance-enhancing drugs or whether it was a suspension due to a cut or a knockdown or a knockout, FightFacts copies that, and until that commission that issued that suspension / ban lifts it. So in other words, if the state of New York puts a restriction or a ban on a fighter, the state of New York has to lift it before FightFacts reports that fighter as being clean and able to fight. Some reputable commissions will recognize other suspensions or bans from other countries. I know from personal experience, one time I was promoting a fight in New York, and I had the main event, and the way the story goes, and it's a true story, my two fighters in the main event had fought each other once before, and it was a rematch. But what had happened was the one fighter had been, they fought each other. The one fighter won, the other one lost. Then the guy who lost was put on suspension, and 29 days into a 30-day suspension, he went and fought in Europe, won, and then came back, fought again in the United States in Virginia or something like that, and then was fighting on my card, which was, almost a year later. And the New York State Athletic Commission decided that this fighter was bad for the sport because he didn't live up to his suspension, which he missed by 1 day, and therefore wouldn't let him fight on my card, which I thought was ludicrous.
Wow.
It should have went back to the other United States commission that allowed him to fight after he fought on 29th day of a 30-day suspension. My point is that depending upon the commission, they would adhere and acknowledge a ban or a suspension, but not all do, like was the case with me. I think if we had some type of a global commission, not a sanctioning body, because we certainly don't need new belts, Sal.
It was just an idea.
No, I'm just saying. But if we had a sanctioning body where we all, a commission where they all would, adhere to suspensions and bans and this and that, I think maybe a fighter would think twice about using a performance-enhanced drug if he knew that his career was going to be put on hold for 4 years. Shannon Briggs, I think, got suspended for 6 months here in the States, and Mickey Nelson gets a 4-year ban in South Africa, but they make total note that he can fight other places, just not in South Africa, which to me means nothing. It just means that their promoters and team might have a harder time getting them to fight other places because of the travel situation. But if we really want to clean it up, Sal, we should make some kind of global commission to oversee this stuff. I never was for it before, but I think in lieu of the cheating factor, maybe that's an answer.
Maybe, but with every commission, there's controversy. It's the CC, Commission and Controversy. There's going to be finger pointing. There's going to be maybe contrasting styles or bylaws or things. Maybe they got to have one purpose or two identifiable means of what they're in place for, such as this whole doping of drugs and stuff, and maybe some other things that would have an insight or oversight as far as worldwide boxers not being allowed to fight. Same thing with, maybe they could look and protect the fighters too. Some fighter that might fail a CAT scan or MRI, MRA, whatever they do in one country, maybe he should not be allowed to fight in another country. Maybe because their technology is maybe not as advanced as ours or so, that they may allow his brain could pass a certain test. I don't know, Bill. It's a good thought. I just know without some real defined rules, regulations, and laws of what they're supposed to be doing and their purpose, I think that would have to be clearly, stated. And then, of course, you're going to have it's going to be like the United Nations. Look at the controversy with the United Nations. So it's going to be United Nations of boxing. There you go.
Well, hold that thought, because Coach made a point here in the chat room, and I'm going to address that as soon as we come back from break. And we may even open up the phone line. So if you have something to say on this issue or the Briggs-Tyson Fury possible showdown, drop me a call, 845-228-8710. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks, like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could join us. And, you guys can't see Sal during the breaks, but I can. And, we have this, camera set up on Sal, whatever. And Sal just takes a sip of his coffee mug, which incidentally is not his normal Billy C. mug because he's at an undisclosed location right now. And he takes a sip of it, and all of a sudden he looks at the coffee cup like, what the hell was that? What did I just drink? Sal, what did you throw some nips or something in there? Because yesterday there were a couple of comments I saw on social media thought you had a few drinks before you came on the air. You and Dax were out drinking, they thought. And the way you just looked at your mug today, I was saying to myself, man, what did he put some anisette in there? Or what did you, some Sambuca? I like Sambuca with my coffee. What about you?
Me too. But no, we don't have any Sambuca here. It's just pure coffee with one of those flavored creamers. It's actually very good.
Oh, maybe
but it is in a smaller cup, and this is like my fifth cup already. Because it's a smaller cup.
You just better make sure it's not like arsenic or anything. Does it taste almondy to you?
Yes, it is almond.
Does it taste a little nutty? Oh, yeah, did you piss your girlfriend off? I mean, come on, man, be serious.
She's not in my will yet.
Hey, listen, I want to make a point.
Yes.
About Coach in the chat room. By the way, if you're watching or listening on another vehicle, whether TV or another stream or radio, whatever, we do monitor and respond to the comments in our chat room up on BillyCBoxing.com. Now, I will admit I do comment to people on Facebook Live only because it's experimental right now. But anyway, Coach just said that basically he was saying that, there should be some standard rules, that we should start off with standardized rules. And then, Sal, you said something about the medicals and stuff. And it's a topic I've been discussing for a long time. About standardization of to begin with the medical rules. You guys have all heard my idea about me feeling that prior to being issued a federal ID, which is how we here in the United States control fighters and making sure they're not fighting under different names or whatever, they have to get what they call a federal ID, and a federal ID is required to be physically present every time a fighter fights, and they have to present it to the commission. Before obtaining a federal ID, I just feel that all fighters should undergo a CAT scan, a head scan, So that not because they want to become a professional fighter, which could be another good reason, but in order to give a doctor a comparison scan if for some reason there's an issue that they want to check for down the road after a severe knockdown or even a brutal beating. It gives a comparison. The way that it works now is they look at a scan, and as long as it's within the tolerance of what a normal scan should look like, they give the thumbs up, it's okay. And we all know that, everybody's body is different, and therefore what could be a normal scan for you or I could be not normal for someone else. The problem with that, which I feel should be a rule across the board, and standardization, I agree with Coach and you, Sal, but the problem with it, and the reason why it's not in place right now, is because the feds, if the government came back and said, the federal government came back and said, listen, we're going to control boxing now. We're going to make sure that everybody does what we said. That, and as it was explained to me by a commissioner at one point in the state of New York, that is impossible as it is written right now, because that's a violation of the state laws versus federal. In other words, the states have certain rights that go beyond the federal, and one of them is in position with a boxing commission. You can't force a state to make. You can't tell a state. The feds can't tell a state what rules that they have to adhere to on a state level for boxing. I don't agree with it, but it's the fact. In other words, some state commissions here in the U.S., you have to have a head scan every 3 years, or some you only have to have it after a certain age. Some require chest X-ray and blood work and all of this. Some require minimal. Some require eye tests. Some only require an eye test and a blood test. Some just require a blood test. Some require it all.
Wow.
It's very hard, and the reason why it would be beneficial to the fighters to have the same medical requirements across the board is because it would open up doors for them to fight in other states. Like, for example, in New York, they require a head scan, but they pay for it, which is an advantage for the promoters here in New York. But when it comes time to getting a fight approved, and you bring a fighter to the commission for their approval to fight another fighter, they have a tendency to lean towards New York fighters because New York fighters, they kind of have a financial investment in. They don't want to bring a fighter from, let's say, Missouri or Tennessee or something like that, pay for all the medicals, and then have that fight fall out or whatever, or have that fighter never come back and fight in New York. They use those medicals and fight other places. So it becomes pretty messy, Sal. But the fact is the fact that it would benefit the fighters, I think. And I also believe that the promoters would benefit if they made the young fighters take a head scan, because they could pay for it and sign a young fighter to a promotional deal. I think it's a win-win for everybody, to be honest with you. I don't know why they haven't done it yet.
Well, there are certain things in boxing that, whether they turn a blind eye or whether they just don't want to upset the apple cart, why they can't all be on the same page. And let's face it, maybe there are some states like New York that are more strict on having their fighters certified as being, definitely okay to fight within this year's licensing agreement than other countries. Than other states. So, it's hard. And then they'll take on the burden when they have a fight over there, because there is reciprocity, as I use that term a lot, with interstate rules and respect as far as licenses. I think it should be mandatory between the states and worldwide that a fighter does get a brain scan on an annual basis, or maybe after every big knockout or something like that, or hard fight. I think it should be. It's going to be costly, and who absorbs all those expenses. It's got to be something that, again, is going to be, you picture this, now a commission is going to be formed, and then it's going to have to be getting funds in and other things. So there's a lot. We'll use the term minutia that's going to be taking place as far as how one thing could be organized, formed, and actually effective. And it's going to take funds. It's going to take coordination, and it's going to take a lot. If we did like a world sanctioning or global boxing association, if you will, to recognize all these certain things that are necessary to be in place.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a good idea, Bill. I think it's a good idea.
I think that if minimally, if the medicals were all the same in the United States, it would help the sport. Now, to the original issue, I think that if we did that, at least in the United States, then maybe other countries would want to, recognize and, adhere to our suspensions, bans, whatever, and we should do the same. In other words, we can't complain that the sport of boxing is filled with cheaters using performance-enhancing drugs, like every sport is in today's world. We can't complain about it. We can't accuse. We can't assume. But when someone tests positive, regardless of who made the test, because that's another argument here in the States, oh, well, that test isn't accurate. They need this one, or whatever. But if a test comes back positive, and it's done by an agency that's not VADA or USADA here in the States, I think we should adhere to it. I think it's the only way to curb the thought of cheating. And, when we first started doing the PED stuff, a lot of, I didn't know. I didn't know it was in my vitamin. It was in my cereal. I had a cheeseburger that, they were saying in Mexico, they put those steroids in the beef. They feed it to the beef. So I had a burger the other day, and that's why I tested. I mean, come on. The bottom line is you test them. If they come up dirty, you suspend them. You do whatever you want. And everyone else should recognize that suspension. Don't give the fighter an out, because then the message is not being sent and heard. I don't know. It's like saying, hey, I'm gonna go rob a bank here in New York, and if I get caught, I'm only susceptible to going to jail in New York. But if I want to travel to another state, I'm okay. I commit a crime in New York, and I'm only going to pay the price if I'm in New York. If I go to Georgia and live with Sal, then I'm not going to go to jail. It's the same thing, Sal. I mean, it should be. We should look at it. If somebody cheats, they should pay. Pay the price for everyone, not just for that country. That's my thought.
Well, and I think it's a great thought. I mean, now a 4-year ban is basically a career, basically on some levels. So, is each country or state going to have it across the board from the home country as far as what they declare? That's what I'm saying. If we do it on a global basis, there's got to be a set of rules, regulations in place, whether it's a 6-month ban worldwide, a 1-year ban worldwide, if they detect any kind of performance enhancing drugs or something like that. Like I said, 4 years is basically, it could be a career in a fight game. So, I think if they are all on the same page and they appreciate and respected each other's wishes, yeah, I think some type of body should be formed where those rules and regulations are respected worldwide.
Yeah, I agree with you. Some other news, and what's your thoughts? Drop us an email, Billy@talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.
As long as they don't ban coffee.
Huh? No, they're not going to ban it. It's good for you now. A couple of years ago, coffee was bad for you. It's bad for you. Don't drink the coffee. And then all of a sudden, wait. A new study says it's good for you. Yeah, it's good. It's like eggs. It's like eggs. You know,
It's
several
eggs.
years ago, no, eggs are no good for you. Don't be eating eggs. Too much cholesterol. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. Eggs have the good cholesterol. There's a good cholesterol and there's bad cholesterol. You eat the good cholesterol. Yeah, you know. That's crazy. Crazy.
Oh man, I'll tell you. Well, it is. It depends on what entity is looking through what prism to see something that's bad or good. It's crazy. That's what we need to have declared uniform across the board. One thing.
Well,
but it's the same thing like you just said. 1 year it's bad, 1 year it's good.
Well, look at it this way. Bad is good sometimes. Like
Yes,
in other words,
it
you could say, man, did you see that play the other day? Oh man, he was bad, man. He was bad, and that means he's
but
good.
it was good, man.
No, that means he's good. Or you could say, oh man, did you taste that crap that they ate? Oh, that was bad. You know, that's bad. Hey, that chick, man, she looked bad, and that means she looked good, right? But man. Did you smell that rotten tomato? Ugh, that was bad. Now that's bad. You know, so I mean, you got to know which bad is good. You know, I mean, is bad good? I don't know. Is good bad? I don't know. It's so confusing. You know, I mean, you know.
Confused right now.
I'm getting confused thinking about it. But anyway, heavyweight
Good
fight.
point.
You know, I'm not a big Jarrell Big Baby Miller fan. I'm just not. I think this guy is extremely overrated. Truthfully, he did come out on top in his last fight against Gerald Washington, which I was excited about when I saw the fight. I thought it would be a good one, and as it turned out, it was a good fight. But he had come out on top, and he's calling out all the champions. I mean, that was his toughest fight. He is ranked in the top 10 of all of the major sanctioning bodies. And it's looking like he's going to be fighting on November 11th on the undercard of Daniel Jacobs' fight on HBO against Moritz Wach, who's that giant guy who also had tested positive for steroids at one point. Wach is 33-2 with 17 knockouts. Big Baby Miller 19-0 with 17 knockouts. A fight that I would like to see. Is it HBO worthy? I'm not so sure. But anyway, hey Sal, joining us right now is the infamous Jeremy C. Jeremy, what do we owe
What's
this?
up, y'all?
What do we owe this?
Good morning, Jeremy.
What's going on?
Nothing much. Just watching some Billy C. and talking boxing in the morning here and enjoying the show as always. I'm actually on my phone today. I'm mobile, running around.
Always testing something out, Jeremy.
Always, just in case we need a live report somewhere.
So
I'm ready.
So, Jeremy, I would ask you your thoughts on this governmental commission, but I know.
That's right. You can ask me.
No. I insist. I have another question for you. I know your work because you get so advanced with some of your answers. I don't want to confuse. It's early in the morning. I don't want to confuse.
It's understandable.
Yeah, I know. I don't want
people are ready.
I don't want to confuse the Joe Schmo public that watches this show.
Understood.
Right.
Understood.
But I do want to ask. You've been watching the footage of our last Billy C event. Sal and I had down at Sea Palms Resort in St. Simons.
Yep.
And you had mentioned to me that. You were brought to tears when Sal finally obtained his title belt, his world title belt. Tell us about the experience you had when you were watching that footage.
You know what? It was a moment, Bill. I mean, it's going to go down in history. It's just if you don't cry when you watch this, then you're not a real man. When you strap that belt on Sal, you could just see, dreams were made. Dreams had come true, Bill. Dreams had come true. For Sal.
We thought that it would be beneficial, and we felt that Sal, deserved the title. I mean, here he was. I mean, we were doing this Billy C event, and we throw Sal in the mix with all these, well-decorated former world champions, Marlon Starling and Bob and Chez, and of course
Billy C.
Ray Mercer, yeah, right. Ray Mercer, who not only had a world title but also Olympic gold medal. And,
man, is he funny?
You know, and all of a sudden there's Sal. You know, and ironically enough, he's the shortest guy in the room too. You know, and we figured, you know, we had to give Sal a belt. I mean, he's accomplished a lot in life, and it was a great presentation and a great time. I mean, what's your thoughts as you're putting the final touches on that?
No, honestly, you know what? It looked like a lot of fun. I wish I could have been there. Ray Mercer was freaking hilarious, man. He was really funny. He might have had a few, you know. But
Ray,
he was
Ray
very
with
funny.
when he was saying about what we were having in our party compared to the party next door that was going on.
It was very funny. And you know what, Sal? First of all, Sal, I like the beard. It looks like you're taking a little page out of the Jeremy C. handbook. I like it. It looks good.
Jeremy.
You know what?
No, Jeremy's a trendsetter, Sal. You know that.
I know that.
Sal, your speech was amazing that night. I'm putting the final touches on that video, so I should have that to Billy C. It's actually saving right behind me. I should have that to Billy C. today, and then it's up to him how he wants to distribute it. But yeah, no, it looked like a great night, and you know, I just wish Bill owned a tripod. Other than that, it was great.
Yeah, hey Sal, Jeremy doesn't understand that it was the 11th and a half hour when we found a human body to hold that camera for us, you know.
Jeremy C gets a little dizzy from the motion, you know.
But it was, right?
You might throw up a few times watching.
Well, I mean, hey, listen, it was cut and dry. Even, you know what, Sal, when Jeremy and I were talking about it, you know, I was like, oh, well, I got this raw footage. You know, we wanna post this up on probably just YouTube. We'll give it away up on YouTube. And I said, you know, it's raw footage. You got to do something with it. And he calls me and says, because the very next day, because when I give Jeremy something, he's right on it. You know, so he calls me the very next day. He calls me the very next day. Actually, hours after I sent it to him, and he says, you know, there's not much I can do with it. It's all pretty complete. I mean, you know. Yeah. And it was, right?
Honestly, there's not a lot to edit. You throw some logos up. I put the name of the you know, everybody speaking while they're up. But I mean, for the most part, it flowed nice. It looked like a great time. You know, I'm coming to the next one. I encourage everyone else to, show up to the next Billy C. event. We all missed out, people. We all missed out.
Not everyone that was in that room. We had a great. And you know what? Speaking of which, Sal, we haven't heard from my man Stephen Barr. We wanted to have him come on and talk about it. He was the guy that was from England, that was in Washington and flew over at the last minute and joined us, which was pretty cool. He was
that's awesome.
He was hanging out with all of us, man.
You know what a class act too, and what a great. I couldn't believe it. All of a sudden, he comes over and he introduces himself, and lo and behold, wow. A big fan of the Billy C. show, and there he was right there, and you know what, I was so happy for him because he had a great weekend. He said it, and I mean, it was great. I mean, and the way these fighters were, I mean, you know, Ray Mercer, Bobby Ches, Marlon Starlin, I mean, they gave themselves to the crowd. They did everything. They took pictures, they signed autographs, they sat and they talked about their fights, about fighting today, about everything. It was just an engaging, well-planned, great event, a great eventful full weekend. It was great. It was great. It was so much fun.
Hey, Jeremy, you want to know the funniest thing was Marlon Starling and his wife. They come up to me and they said, "Oh man, you people." I go, whoa, you people,
you people,
you know, and they're going,
is that Italian?
They're going, man, the Italians, you know. She says to me, Marlon's woman says to me, man, I don't want to offend you guys, but when are you going to stop eating? Every time we turn around or eating, you know, every time we went into Sal's place, you know, and the time they thought they were going to get some reprieve, and we went a little early, and we figured, oh well, you know, we got an hour and a half, 2 hours before dinner. Lo and behold, you know, Heather comes out. Here's some fried raviolis and some garlic bread to start with. She put it. Everybody's like, oh my god, you know, and they just ate and ate. It was
great. It's like around the fighting. It was around the food.
Yeah. There's one thing Italians don't have a problem, and that's, you know, if you're ever underweight, right, the day before fight night, you know, you're going to be fine. That's fine. Coming up in weight is no problem for an Italian.
Hey, that's why all the Italians want to go back to 8 weight classes, because all these weight classes in between are just too difficult.
Well, Bill, and that's what I always say almost nightly in my restaurant. We celebrate life with food, and wine, and love of people around us, and that's how we celebrate life.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you,
man, is it delicious?
It's delicious.
Yeah, and I just want to say one thing. Back to Stephen Barr. There's one thing I learned, and I've always said this. And we say this about the fights. I watch the fights all the time from the UK, and I always say the live audience is great. They're always, and I mentioned, jokingly, it's probably because they drink pints of beer all the time. They're shit faced by the time the fights come on. Well, I think that my man Stephen Barr reiterated that concept, because I met him the first time for breakfast. I was ordering coffee and eggs, and he was already on wanting to buy us beers and stuff. And the guy, I will say this, that guy drank all day from the time he woke up, because he was watching his team. The soccer game was on.
Yes,
and they were.
Yes.
It was on early.
8 o'clock in the morning.
It was on early, right? It was on. I know it was football, and he was watching, and he started drinking at 8 in the morning, and went all the way. And the one day he even said to me, I have to pace myself today, and I'm looking at him. Pace yourself. What do you do when you really go all out? I mean, Jesus, these guys. I'm surprised that any of them. They must have like livers and kidneys over there. They must sell them in the supermarket, because it seems to go quickly, just like Jeremy's video feed.
Whoa, I don't know what the heck happened. Am I upside down now?
No, you're fine. You're fine.
All right,
but,
just checking.
Anyway, hey, listen, we got to take a break here, and Jeremy, I appreciate you stopping.
No problem,
by.
man. You guys have a great show.
And is that a new hairstyle you got? You going for the? You going
it's called
for
bedhead, Bill.
Oh, it looked like it was. Yeah, it looked like you were kind of spiking it up. It kind of looks pretty uniform. You sure you're not just trying? Sal, you're not going to come on the show tomorrow looking like that, are you? I mean, you are growing the beard. Jeremy is a trendsetter, but
grab it and kind of pinch it up in the middle.
That's
there.
what it is.
A little gel.
People pay extra for that. They pay extra for that. They go to a hairstylist for that, Jeremy.
I go to a barber, Bill.
Yeah,
I'm also a licensed barber and hairstylist.
Oh, there you go.
I am. I still have my license out of New Jersey.
Hey, we got a new commercial coming up. Jeremy's working on. I'm not just. I'm not. Hey, whoa. No, the commercial. Hey, I don't just promote. I don't want to mention it till we got it. I'm also a client. Remember you, Jeremy? That's the first thing, because Jeremy likes to kick me when I'm down. Sal, I don't know what it is.
A little bit. It's fun.
Yeah. But yeah, Sal used to have. Go ahead. Promote your hair salon that doesn't exist anymore. Go ahead.
No. No, but I used to have a hair salon. Guess what the name was, Jeremy?
Sal's Hair Salon.
Just think about it.
Good guess.
Sal's Hair Area.
No, come on. Take another guess. I was still
knockout cuts.
Close.
Uppercuts.
The uppercut.
Yeah, there you go.
That's awesome.
Uppercut hair salon. We're all, now get this, all hairstyles are a knockout.
There you go. That's Sal, you should be in marketing, man. This is good stuff. Hold on, I'm writing this idea down.
Hey, listen, I want you guys to just do me one favor, right? As I'm watching you, I have you split on the screen, and it looks like you could high-five each other right now. No, the other way. You got to go to your side. Yeah, go that way. No, the other side. Well, both forget it.
I'm holding my phone with that hand.
Tell you. Oh, that's right. You got your phone. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I'm on the phone today.
Oh, I thought maybe you hired the same guy we hired for the Billy C. Get Together.
Oh, look, it's the Billy C. Get Together. Hey, everyone. Hey, enjoy the show.
Jeremy, thanks for coming on, man.
Are you saying something about being dysfunctional?
No, I'm saying I was just thanking Jeremy for coming on. Hey, both of you, I got to take a break. All right, thanks Jeremy for coming on. We'll be talking to you soon. I'm going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll be talking some boxing. I'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and three-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now because we are about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. Call 800-493-9652 now, and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Melberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you the #1 mistakes retirees are making with their investments today, and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement. Call 800-493-9652 to have your free information kit rushed to your door. Again, that's 800-493-9652.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
If you or a loved one have had hernia repair surgery with mesh reinforcement and suffered infection, chronic pain, mesh migration, mesh failure, organ damage, or needed additional surgery, call the Rely On Group right now. You may be eligible to receive a cash award and compensation for your medical expenses. Your voice deserves to be heard. Call the Rely On Group to be connected with a personal injury attorney for a free consultation. Call 800-715-4869. That's 800-715-4869.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you! I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. And thank God we're back to normal. Every time Jeremy C. comes on the show, all hell breaks loose. But
it's chaos. It's all over the place.
It's chaos. Like, get smart.
Get smart. Remember that chaos.
I love chaos. But looks like Sal changed his location. He's in a secret location now. He threw up that picture real quick. Hey, good. Hey, get a little color on that set. Sal. Huh?
Well, I first took it down wanting a blank wall, but I figured, let's put it back up.
Did you realize that you didn't have the green screen yet?
We talked about that green screen, didn't we?
I haven't gotten it all set yet. I mean, Hey, one thing we do got to talk about is this week we do have a short week. Unfortunately, some issues have come up, which is beneficial to you guys because it's upgrade issues. But Thursday and Friday we will not be doing a live show because we're doing some upgrades here to the systems. So we apologize for that, and I apologize for the late announcement. And Sal, I apologize to you for just letting you know right now as we're live.
I planned my whole week with the Billy C. Show.
Well,
thank you for letting me know. We're not doing a show Thursday and Friday.
Thank goodness. Well, it's not looking like it unless it changes.
Unless something changes.
Yeah, I just want to get everybody ready for it. But the schedule is slow, so it is a good time to do these, and I have to pick and choose when we do them. But some stuff I want to talk about. November 4th, it was announced that the interim WBA World Light Heavyweight Champion Dmitry Bivol who was supposed to face Badou Jack for Jack's title, will now be facing Trent Broadhurst for the full World Boxing Association's World Light Heavyweight title. It will be taking place in Monte Carlo on November 4th and will be broadcast on HBO's Boxing After Dark, which is pretty cool. I'm excited about that. I still, I'm a little confused with all of the televised stuff for HBO, because Daniel Jacobs is fighting the following week, November 11th on HBO, to make his HBO New Deal debut. And on November 4th, that is the fight, that the fight night that Deontay Wilder will be defending his title against Luis Ortiz on Showtime. So, I'm not sure. I mean, Jamie McDonnell and Libraro Solis will be on the title on that card as well, at least on the Dmitry Bivol Broadhurst card, and Scott Quigg will be taking Oleg Yefimov, and the return of Derek Chisora. So, I mean, the card looks good in Monte Carlo, but I'm just not so sure how HBO is going to deal. Unless it's going to be the 11th. I don't know, man. I don't think anybody should go up against Deontay Wilder against Luis Ortiz, Sal. I mean, to me, that's risky.
That should be our focus for that evening. I that's what's going to be my focus. So I don't think anybody really should try to go up against that. They should try to work with it. I mean, that's it.
Not to be confused with a Ford Focus, but anyway, that's going to be taking place November 4th. Last night, Monday Night Football, at least I got back on my winning ways with my picks. I had a terrible week financially Sunday, but Monday Night Football, the Cowboys beat the Cardinals 28-17.
You called that one.
Elliott ran for 80 yards on 23 carries and a touch. He had a touchdown. Dak Prescott was pretty efficient with throwing 18 times, completing 13 passes for 183 yards and a couple of TDs. The Cardinals had their moments. They could have been up on the Cowboys 14-0 in the first quarter, but blew their opportunity. Carson Palmer had a good day as far as statistics go. 29 completions out of 48 attempts for 325 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Larry Fitzgerald had a great day as a receiver, 13 catches for 149 yards and a touchdown, but the Cardinals still came up short in that one, significantly, I might add, losing 28-17. We do have an email I'm going to read, Sal. So this one's from my man Jesse. He says, "Hey, Billy C and Sal, I got to see the Linares fight, and I think he won, but in a boring fashion. He should have thrown more combos since he had the speed edge. If he doesn't get Mikey, then fight Easter, Terry, or Tank Davis. Those guys have to fight each other to prove who's the best in that division." I'm going to give you an update on Tank Davis, even though it's not much of one. I don't know if I can agree. I know you didn't get a chance to watch the fight yet, Seth, but I don't know if I could agree with Jesse that it was a boring fight, because I thought it was a pretty entertaining fight. I liked it. I thought that you have to give credit to Campbell for neutralizing Jorge Linares in that fight. I think it took him a few rounds to get the distance right, to see the speed of Linares' country. He had to adjust to Linares, and I thought that after a few rounds he did that. And then I thought Luke Campbell kind of controlled the fight. I think he was the one that was limiting Linares from the attack. So I disagree. As far as him fighting Mikey Garcia, here's the problem with Jorge Linares. I don't think he's a big enough draw for Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia is looking for these big fights, as he just fought against Adrian Broner. He's the guy. He's a guy that we want to see. I don't know if Jorge Linares brings that. I don't know if he's got enough of it, and that special it factor.
Gravitas.
If he has the gravitas. which not to be confused with Mardi Gras, like I did. But, I don't know. Maybe HBO wants that. Mikey Garcia against Jorge Linares. Maybe they were trying to set that up. I don't know. But I think Mikey Garcia is too much for Linares. Linares starts out fast and strong. Mikey Garcia is the real deal, man. This guy, he does it all, and he comes up. He's an intelligent fighter. He and his brother come up with a game plan to neutralize any opponent that they have. I don't think that Linares. I think Mikey Garcia is too big for Linares, even though it's the same weight class. If I'm Linares, I go after someone else, not Mikey Garcia. He says, I just saw the highlights on Parker Fury, and Parker throws wild punches, and he misses a lot. None of these guys are world champions, but Parker has to face somebody now. It's a thin division full of no talent. I prefer him to fight Konaski or Lucas Brown, I guess. Is it a weak division? Sal, do you think the heavyweight division right now is weak, or the guys aren't fighting each other? In other words, if you took these level fighters, the Huey Furies, the Konaskis, the Lucas Browns, if they fought each other, I think we would have an extremely exciting division. I think the problem here is when you get to the upper level, when you get to the AJs and even Deontay Wilder and Luis Ortiz, when you get to that level fighter, they are so far above these other guys that it makes it appear like the division is thin. But if they fought each other, similar to the fight we mentioned before, Jarrell Big Baby Miller against Maurice Wack, these are the kinds of fights that are good for the heavyweight division. These guys should be fighting each other. Parker really shouldn't be a champion. He does have to face somebody. But Lucas Brown, who also tested positive for steroids, Konaski, all these guys, Huey Fury, they need to fight each other. I think that they would make some exciting fights. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think you're right. It would be title elimination bouts, bragging rights. I definitely think these guys should be mixing up between each other and see who rises to the top. That's it. It seems like it's just a little more dormant, and not the right fights are being made that we could really see the top contenders, the top the world champs, and everything else. We know who the world champs are, but we need to see who else is in the contention of getting a title shot.
Yeah,
and giving us good, entertaining fights. Well, good competitive fights.
We've always said, Sal, that great fighters, which makes them great, in addition to their ability, is to have the right dance partners. And, right. Dance partners are out there if we let them get created, so to speak. You know what I mean? And, these other fights, rather than, have them fight slugs and then all of a sudden throw them in with a title shot, if they fought each other, I think it would be more interesting. I think the division would benefit from it. Anyway, he says...
Well, you're right. You're 100% right.
Yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off. I have another topic, but go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, and unfortunately, what you do see is a lot of times these guys not being coddled. They're not being coddled, but... instead of fighting each other, they're sidestepping and they're fighting a lesser opponent. They want to be the A side with a B side opponent. When they're still trying to be the A side or working up towards an A side or come in for a title fight as a B side opponent. The bottom line is they've got to get their experience. They've got to be showcased. They've got to have. They've got to let their talent rise and get to the top. And it's going to be by fighting each other. Who's going to be the best?
Well, it's normal to rise. Like you're saying, hey, Sal, that's the way boxing used to be. You used to fight, contender would move up and fight the next guy in line, and then he would. It's called the ladder theory. You climb the ladder.
It is the ladder.
You climb the ladder, and then you get your way to number one, and then you fight the champ. Even if you did it in the sanctioning body's own rankings, it would work. I know it's diluted and too much, but it would work. But the problem they do today is they have an asterisk. he's fighting the first available top contender, which means there might be a guy that a sanctioning body ranks at number one, or let's say there's a number one guy and there's a guy that ranked at number two, and they should fight each other, and the winner gets to fight the champ. But number two guy, he's not ready. He's got a he just fought 6 months earlier, and he needs another 8 months to prepare, so he's not ready for the fight. Or another guy's getting a shot at another belt, so he's not ready. And before you get to a guy that's ready, willing, and able, he's number 8. So now you got the number 8 guy fighting the number 1 guy in an elimination bout to fight the champ. I mean, the political landscape is terrible.
Yeah, it is. It is. Exactly just for that. Politics and everything else, and maneuverability of your fighter to be leveraged and not be in a fight until he's in for the title.
True. He says, hey, Billy, how about looking at this perspective that maybe the Bivol people would like to fight a lesser talent to win the title? That way the cycle of developing a champion it continues. I believe Barrera is the third in the ranking and should face Bivol for the vacant title, and that would be a difficult fight. I mean, if you're referring to the fact that Bivol is going to fight Broadhurst now instead of fighting Sullivan Barrera, I agree. I think that the two, especially in a situation where a title is vacant, I think the number 1 and number 2 contender should fight for that title. I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, what do you think, Sal?
Well, I think so too. I mean, it's just a natural progression, as we were talking about, and that's what they should do: is fiddle it down and whittle it down to having the top guys and fight it out and have the bragging rights and be leveraged for a title shot.
Yeah, I mean, as far as
that's natural progression.
I don't see why. First of all, typically with these fighters from overseas, and I think the World Boxing Super Series really magnifies it, they're not afraid to fight anybody that's put in front of them.
No, they are not, and that's what I love about those guys.
Exactly, and I don't think that Sullivan Barrera is a good fighter, but I don't think he's a scary fighter. I think Bivol is a scary fighter. I think that's why Badou Jack, even though I think Badou Jack is he's borderline top notch, great fighter. I mean, I love what Jack has done. Brought himself back into the picture and is just getting better and better. I wanted to see that fight. I hold that fight more, the fact that it didn't happen, Bivol against Jack, more from the advisors of Badou Jack more than anything. But with that said, Broadhurst picked, if they're saying that he was picked by Team Bivol for an easier fight, I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer to that. He says, I agree with you and Dax that Valdez throws too hard punches and he lacks defense. Ramirez seems to leave his straight left handing too much. Sometimes you guys type fast today. You got to reread this. He said, leaves his left hand maybe hanging too much. Therefore, it's vulnerable for a counter like Hart was looking for and connected. Hart just does not throw enough. He threw enough in the second half of that fight, and he was trying to. I think they saw that Ramirez was susceptible to the uppercut because he seemed to go for that uppercut a lot towards the last part of that fight. And there's no doubt that Valdez needs to work on his defense, Sal. I know you didn't get a chance to watch that fight, but he was going all out for the knockout. And what was happening was, as he was going, trying to put everything into every punch, he was throwing his punches kind of wide, and his opponent Cervania was able to stand in that pocket and try to. The problem was he was getting hit sometimes, but he was moving his head a little bit, not feeling the full impact of the punch, and able to land a counter punch. That's something I think that Team Valdez has to work on in the gym now. I think that this fight should have opened their eyes corrections that they have to make. But this goes back to what I've been saying a long time ago. These are corrections that you should be making prior to winning a world title. Once you win a world title, now you shouldn't be in the developmental stage. I mean, you always, like you said a few weeks ago, you're always learning something in the ring, but something like that seems like it should have been learned a while ago. What do you think?
Well, yeah, and here's what happens. A good trainer and a good fighter being together, they assess that. They say, hey, look, you opened up, you did this, but your punches are too wide. You got to bring them in, because what's going to happen if you throw those wide punches, boom, you're going to get countered. You throw that, boom, you're going to get countered. And they know that. So sometimes they just got to hone it in and say, hey, deliver them a little closer, and not so round, not so this. You can get the power by leverage. Use the torque, use the trunk, use your core. It's just reminders. Sometimes a little bit, and you might feel a little comfortable here doing something, but in the long run, you could be vulnerable to some other things you're opening up yourself to. But that's what a good trainer pulls you in. He hones you in. Says, hey, you're throwing too wide. Keep them close. You're going to get hit. You're going to get countered. He's timing you. Those are just things that you should know. And those are just things that a good, smart fighter will assess the first time he does it. Oh, that punch was a little too wide. He just got counter shot. So, you learn to move with that hand and then deliver that punch a little straighter, a little sharper. So it's you should know. Yes, by the time you get to a title shot or anything else, you have the arsenal, you have the weapons, you have this and that. Sometimes you just need a trainer to hone it in and bring it back to where you are during a fight.
I was very critical when Andre Berto was a world champion, and then every time that, they gave him an opponent, a winnable opponent, they said, well, he's still developing. We're still developing. I'm saying, you can't use that. Now, whether you're learning new things, whether you're honing your craft, yes, that keeps coming. But you can't use that we're still developing our fighter.
No, you don't use you're still developing your world title fight or contention or a champion. You're not still learning. You're there. You're gonna guess what? You got the golden ring. Everybody's gonna come up and grab it from you. And if you're not ready for them, you shouldn't have to hold on to it. You're not gonna hold on to it.
Well, that's a big difference with today's sport of boxing, Sal. They're able to. They're able to win a title, and nothing for nothing, but Gilberto Ramirez and even Oscar Valdez, for that example, are two young fighters that have big fan bases, that are on the rise, that fight exciting styles, and Joseph Parker's another guy. When you look at them and you look at the nuts and bolts of their arsenal, they're a little weak. They're not developed. They shouldn't be considered world titleists, but they are, because we have so many of them, and the pool of fighters is basically small. Everybody's a champion of sorts. Everybody's got a belt. I can't remember last time a fighter with at least 10 fights came walking out to the ring without holding up a belt. A belt of some kind. There's a lot of them, Sal.
Well, there's a lot of belts, and Bill, that's the difference. In the era that I fought in, it wasn't uncommon for a fighter to have had invested 30, 40, 50 fights before he got a title shot, and that's a career nowadays. Basically, look at it. The first one to break that barrier was Leon Spinks after the gold medal, and he got a shot at Muhammad Ali in his 7th pro fight. That doesn't happen every day either, but like I said, it wasn't uncommon for you to invest 20, 30 fights before you would get a title shot, because you were honing in, you were learning, you were going through the ranks, and you were climbing the ladder. That's it.
Well, it's funny you bring up Spinks and Ali. I'm convinced, I was then, and I am now.
I know
that fight was really, Ali wanted to be the first heavyweight ever to regain a title 3 times. And by losing to Spinks and then beating Spinks, he was able to do that. You could make the argument that Spinks won the gold medal, et cetera, but it was a different boxing world at that time. But today, it's even worse. I mean, fighters, and you're right, years ago, and way before you fought, years in the 20s and 30s, I mean, you had to have 30, 40 fights before
40 fights before you got a title shot.
Before you even got considered. You know, you might not have even earned your way into number 5 or above contender ranking until you had 40 fights. I mean, these were guys that were fighting tough, rival fights to get to 40. I mean, that when people talk to me about the boxing game and they ask me, what I think of the eras, the reason why I always go back to those eras, and I'll be the first to admit that today's fighters are physically stronger. They know the right workouts to work specific muscle groups, to work the cardio a specific way. They're way more advanced in nutritional value and what's good and what's not good than the fighters of yesteryear. But the thing about the fighters of yesteryear was I believe that they were stronger mentally. And the fact that they fought so much and the fact that boxing was a trade, which is not the case today. Today, most fighters, until you reach that superstardom level, are working other jobs. They're training after work. They're going into fights as a supplement. They're not relying on it as their main source of income. And that's why they bang out some money and get the hell out. You're not seeing these guys stay in the sport. And that's what's hurting the sport of boxing, Sal. Overall, the fact that we don't have boxing people running the sport of boxing is the main problem. We could point fingers at the sanctioning bodies like I do. We can point fingers at the networks like I do, and the promoters like I do, and everybody else that we point fingers at. But at the end of the day, if we had more people that were true boxing people, meaning the guy that's an amateur, that fights as an amateur, that turns pro, fights a full career as a pro, then stays in the sport as a trainer, as a gym owner, as a promoter, as somebody, that's in the sport. If we had more of that, Sal, this sport would be in a totally different place. And that's despite a fantastic, probably in the last 10, 15 years, 2017 has been one of the best years for the sport of boxing that I can recall in recent memory. But even with that said, if we had more boxing people running the sport and involved in the sport of boxing, could you imagine how great it would be?
Oh, Bill, it would be great. And, in the generation and the era that I fought in, you had that. You had, I remember all the great fighters that became trainers, and they shared and they passed on. And I said this before on this show, maybe too many times, but how many times when a Johnny Torres would show me something, or an Ali Stoltz who fought for the title, Bo Jack, he fought Bob Montgomery, when he would share something, or even Freddie Brown would sometimes show me something, or any one of these great old fighters, and they'd say, do me a favor, Sal, when you're in a position to share it and pass it on to another fighter. That's what they all said. When I would thank even Don Turner for showing me that, hey, Don, that's great, I love the way it works, thanks for showing that to me, or whatever. It'd be like, Sal, just pass it on, just pass it on. That's what they had anticipated, that boxers and fighters stayed in the game so they could share with other young fighters inspired by them or so. And it was a great thing. Even Rocky Graziano would show me something once or twice a year when he would throw a right hand, how he would come in. And I'd say, thanks, Rock, thanks. And he'd say, just share, pass it on, pass it on. Because these guys understood. They understood the culture of boxing. They understood the fraternity of boxing. They understood how we used to stay involved in the sport of boxing. When you retired, you became a trainer, a manager, a promoter. You are a ring guy, a gym owner. You stayed in the game. Today, it's not like that because first of all, the money and everything else is not there for you. I couldn't afford to hang around and stay in boxing to be a trainer. I had too many bills, too many other things that I had to get into business and do other things. Sure. Would I love to show a fighter how to train and do it? I think I'd be a great trainer. I think I have a great world of knowledge that I could share and pass on. And right now I'm trying to do it with my son, who wants to fight. So, it's just hard. It's hard to keep people in the game the way that they did 30, 40 years ago.
No doubt. My point is if we did have it would
It'd be great.
And I'm talking. That's the way it was way before your time. But anyway, hey, just to give you guys an update as we wrap it up here. I was gonna take a break, but I'm not. The Gervonta Tank Davis situation. I have not heard anything new, but just to get you caught up. What apparently has happened is an incident took place on August 1st. Allegedly, Gervonta Davis assaulted a guy that was watching some fights in a gym, and it was all caught on tape. And they issued a warrant for him, and they did not execute it until Tuesday when he was arrested. Last Tuesday when he was arrested and taken into custody. They set bail at $100,000. Tank Davis posted the bond, and he was released. They do have a preliminary hearing set. It is set for October 19th, which is several weeks from now. So we'll keep you posted on that as we hear it. But let's just keep our fingers crossed and hope that Gervonta Davis gets his act together because it would be a sad thing to see this guy, waste his talent away or not take what he's got cooking right now seriously, because he is a good fighter, and I hope he gets his act together. But anyway, on this day, September 26th, in boxing history, in 1970, Kenny Buchanan wins a 15-round decision over Ismael Laguna to win the world lightweight title. That took place in San Juan, Puerto Rico, on this day in 1970. On this day in 1986, Edwin Rosario, Hall of Famer, knocks out Livingstone Bramble in the second round to win the WBA lightweight title. It took place in Miami. On this day in 1898, Sal Rocky Senecola makes his pro debut. Oh, no, that's a different one. On this day in 1898,
You're a funny guy.
Dave Sullivan knocks out Solly Smith in the sixth round to win the world featherweight title, and that took place in Brooklyn. Excuse me. On this day in 1964, Vincent Salvador knocks out Sugar Ramos in the 12th round to win the world featherweight title. It took place in Mexico City. On this day in 1981, Juan Herrera knocks out Luis Ibarra in the 11th round to win the WBA World Flyweight title, and that took place in Mexico. And finally, on this day, September 26th, in 1894, Bob Fitzsimmons knocks out Dan Creedon in the second round to retain his world middleweight title, and that took place in New Orleans. I say middleweight title because a lot of people forget that Bob Fitzsimmons was a great middleweight. They look at him as a heavyweight champion, and until Roy Jones did it, Bob Fitzsimmons was the only guy that won a middleweight title, then won a light heavyweight title, won the heavyweight title, and then went back and won a world light heavyweight title again. Bob Fitzsimmons, regarded by many as one of the best pound-for-pound fighters of all time, and was quite the character. So was his wife. His wife was always yelling and screaming ringside. A lot of times they had to try to remove her. That's how vocal she was. We all thought that what's his name, Carl Froch's hot little wife, Rachel, was noisy ringside. She had nothing on Bob Fitzsimmons' wife. But anyway, Hey man, that concludes our show for today. Keep in mind, we most likely, and I'll know for sure tomorrow, and I apologize, but we most likely will not be doing live shows on Thursday or Friday. We are updating the system here, which is always benefiting you guys, the viewers and listeners. So hang with us. We decided to pick this week because it is kind of a slow week in boxing, but next week's going to pick up in the week after and the week after that. Actually, we got a strong run beginning in October all the way through the middle of November. And then there's even a big fight scheduled for the first week in December. So we got a strong finish to a great year already in the sport of boxing. So if we don't do this now, we probably would have to wait until after the first of the year, which is also an option. But anyway, make sure you tune in tomorrow morning. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.